How is it going, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new Jedi Fallen Order video. And in this video we will be ranking Fallen Order boss fights from the worst to the best. Now this will mainly be proper boss fights, not the little bounty hunter ones that appear scattered throughout the planets. And I will of course throw Oggdo Bogdo in there because that thing still haunts my dreams. Now this video will obviously contain spoilers as we are talking about boss fights, so there is your warning. If you haven't finished Jedi Fallen Order already, do not watch this video. Now I just want to mention this before we get stuck right into these rankings. My second channel is now up and running and videos will be pumping out over there very soon. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this for a while, so over there I'll be doing, all things movies and films and stuff like that, as I am a film student myself. So yeah, be sure to head over there and show the second channel some love. Link to the channel will be below. If not, that's totally cool. But anyway, back to it, and I have judged these boss fights out of my personal enjoyment and what I thought was the best. So let me know down in the comments below your favorite boss fights, because we're probably going to disagree and that's okay. So anyway, diving on into it, and coming in at the number 8 spot is Oggdo Bogdo. The thing that literally haunts the dreams of pretty much every single person who has played Jedi Fallen Order. I do remember seeing people get really frustrated online about this thing, so I went to fight it because I was thinking I was just going to smash it out because I thought I was coping with the game pretty well at that point. But then I died probably 15 times and resorted to basically cheesing the boss fight by hiding in the cave. I was just so done getting smacked up by this damn frog that I just ended up having to cheese the final boss. But what was probably more annoying than the actual fight was the fact that once you kill Oggdo Bogdo, all you really got was a pretty pink poncho for Cal. It was a bit of a slap in the face, this one, so between that and Oggdo Bogdo's annoying double heavy attacks, it's coming in as the worst, as I am just not the same since, and I am traumatized for real. And coming in at the number 7 spot now is the 9th Sister boss fight. And the fight was actually pretty entertaining, and it's one that I actually died a fair few times doing. Now, as most of you know, I didn't really like the 9th Sister, and this boss fight is one of the reasons as to why. Her voice was just so annoying. All of the bosses in the game say things during the fighting, but every time the 9th Sister did, my blood pressure just kept rising. I did like it though how she was pretty much on your tail for a fair while on Kashyyyk before the fight actually took place, so there was that element of expecting the fight as it was coming. But I definitely took pleasure in defeating her, I'm not gonna lie. Cutting off her arm and then sending her off of the platform, it made me happy to not hear that voice ever again. The 9th Sister honestly reminded me of that droid rights droid from Solo: A Star Wars Story, just loud and annoying. So I didn't thoroughly enjoy this boss fight until the end when she finally shut up. But moving on to number 6 now, and that is the 2nd Sister fight on Braccal. So this is the first boss fight we got to play in the first 45 minutes of the game, which was actually really surprising as we just kind of got thrown right into it. This fight was more of a tutorial for boss fights than an actual boss fight itself, but nevertheless, it was still a really awesome fight. And it was kind of cool to get thrown into it like that. It was at this moment where we got a really good feel for the combat of this game, and just, this fight, it made me pretty happy with how the game plays. Also, the cutscenes before and after the fight with the 2nd Sister were really good, and it was just sort of the final touch on what was a great opening sequence for the game. But moving on to number 5 is the Gorgara fight on Dathomir. This fight is very different to all of the other boss fights because it took ages to do and you travelled halfway across Dathomir throughout the fight itself. This was the boss fight where the game probably got as crazy as it gets. Like falling out of the sky and landing on Gorgara's back wasn't exactly something I'd say I was expecting to do. The initial fight sequence before he or she, I don't judge, flies away was frustrating but enjoyable at the same time. This was just a really solid boss fight that at times got really crazy, and I definitely did enjoy it. But moving on to number 4 now is the Trilla Vader fight on Bogano. This is where the boss fights, in this rankings get really damn good and really enjoyable for me. At this point, we know who the 2nd Sister is. She is Trilla. We refer to her as Trilla by this point. And the cutscene and back and forth between Cal and Trilla talking about the holocron and how Trilla wants to fall into the Emperor's favor was like really cool. The fight itself was a lot of fun as well, as all of the fights with Trilla actually were. I really enjoyed every single one. I didn't find this one overly hard, but she had some nice combos that could be hard to get around. But the icing on the cake for me was when you trick Trilla in the fight and grab her lightsaber and enter the vision, which shows you the pain and suffering that she has gone through. This really helped flesh out Trilla as a character a lot more, as she, went and yanked the holocron and ran off, which of course set up the finale of the game. Overall, this was a really, really good boss fight, and I honestly enjoyed every single second. But now coming in at the number 3 spot is the second sister boss fight on Zepho. This was easily one of my favourite boss fights. At this point to us, she was just the second sister. And this was the first boss fight with the second sister where the game wasn't introducing you to the game's mechanics. She just goes nuts, and it's up to you to dodge your way to get her health low enough to trigger the cutscene. I really enjoyed the challenge of this fight. The first time I died, I thought that I didn't stand a chance, but I slowly figured her out and it was fun to break her down slowly. The cutscene after the boss fight where BD1 saves you is so good as well, and that's of course where the second sister reveals herself as Trilla, Seer's Padawan, and then, she goes on a huge monologue about, what Seer did and how she'll do the same to Cal. And yeah, this boss fight was it was so damn good from beginning to end, and it was so unexpected as well. You just casually go down an elevator and then boom, she's standing right there. So it was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. And the runner-up boss fight at number 2 was the Taron Malicos fight on Dathomir. Taron Malicos was one of the more unexpected and weirdest characters in the game, but I found it really cool fleshing out over time just who he was. He started out as this just lone wanderer on Dathomir, and by the end of the game, he is a rogue Jedi turned dark and leader of the Night Brothers. And he of course wants Cal to join him. Malicos has moved on from the Jedi Order and has accepted that it's gone, and he doesn't really like the fact that Cal is still holding on to hope. But the fight with him was a ton of fun. Fighting someone with 2 red lightsabers was it was badass, and I didn't expect to see it. And he had some really cool abilities as well in the actual fight itself, and it made the fight really hard to do at times. I've seen people get stuck on the Malicos fight for hours, so I think I actually got pretty lucky there because I think I only died twice. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this fight because Malicos was just one of my favourite characters in the game, and it was cool that we got this epic boss fight to see off his character. And this of course led to Merrin joining the Mantis and you retrieving the Astrium, so good things came from this boss fight. And that leaves only one, and was there really any doubt at all? Obviously at number 1 is the Trilla and Vader boss fight, the epic finale that the game deserved. And for me, it did not let me down, and despite the fact that I had the boss fight actually spoiled for me because some people are just total douches, it still surprised me in a big way. I knew Vader was coming, but I didn't expect to enjoy the sequence as much as I did. The opening boss fight with Trilla was awesome, I loved it. You just dive straight into it, there's no dialogue, you literally just get straight into the fight. And she brings some new moves this time around as well, including that Force Suck ability that drains half of your health, so I really enjoyed the challenge of this final fight with Trilla. And then after we defeat her, we of course go into what I actually think is the best cutscene in the entire game, where Trilla has her tiny last second bit of redemption, and you can see her conflict throughout the cutscene. But then we of course hear Vader's breathing, and Trilla goes into panic mode and is then killed by Vader. And that led on to one of my favourite moments from Cal Kestis in the entire game. That was when Vader said that he'd be wise to surrender, and Cal says, yeah, probably. It was just great, and it made me really like Cal even more. And I love that they didn't give Vader a health bar, which would indicate that you actually have a chance against him. So whilst you didn't get to boss fight Vader necessarily, the entire fight sequence with Vader following what was just an amazing fight with Trilla was just so damn good and kept me hooked every single second, and I loved it so much. I've seen a few people say that they really did not like the final ending and the boss fight of the game, but I honestly don't know how people can say that the game's finale was a disappointment. I really don't get it, and I honestly kind of feel sorry for the people that couldn't enjoy it as much as I did. So the Trilla and Vader boss fight at the end of the game was easily, for me, the best boss fight in Jedi Fallen Order. So guys, what do you all think of these boss fight rankings? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. I'd say most of our rankings will be entirely different, so yeah, post your thoughts below. The boss fights for me overall were one of, if not my favourite elements of the entire game, because they always led to some amazing cutscenes and emotional weight. And yeah, like I said, I kind of feel sorry for the people that couldn't enjoy the boss fights and cutscenes as much as I did, particularly the final boss fight. But anyway guys, if you did go on to enjoy this video, then it would be greatly appreciated if you could drop a like to help support the channel, and subscribe if you are new for more Star Wars gaming content. And remember to keep an eye out on the second channel, as uploads will be hitting that very, very soon. But that is going to do it for me today, so thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you all again real soon.